Hello, Mo80 here with version 0.2 of OBSCraft, the Minecraft mod that lets Minecraft control OBS directly using command blocks, data packs, plugins, or anything else that can send a translatable chat message. To get started, here you want to download the mod from the links in the description and go ahead and launch the game at least once. This will create the configuration file. Then, in your OBS settings, you'll want to head over to Tools, then WebSocket Server Settings. If you're running an older version of OBS, you may need to install the plugin OBS WebSockets manually, but in most versions it's pre-installed for you. Once you've got to this menu, make sure the Enable WebSocket Server is checked, then make sure you got a port and you got a password. You can hit Show Connect Info to get that password so you can actually copy it. I'm not going to click that here for obvious reasons. Once you've got that information, go ahead and update the config file with that information, and go ahead and launch back into Minecraft. Once you're here, you can do OBSCraft list connections to list all of the connections to OBS that are currently active right now. If you see default or whatever ID you set in that list, it's connected to OBS. If you don't see it in the list, you can do OBSCraft reconnect to reconnect to that one. Just make sure to include the ID as well. Most of these commands have the little suggestion things. I try my best to write them in a way that makes sense, but there's likely going to be confusion. It's fine. Just ask me, I'll help. But that's enough of the preamble setup stuff. Let me show you what this can do. So for these command blocks that all here can do various different things. For example, this one sets the current scene we're on. We have scene 1 and scene 2, which is all real exciting, I know. But what about a filter on a source? We can make the inverted filter go however we want. This, of course, also works for third-party plugin filters, such as the Move Plugins filter. This one's applied to the scene itself, which also counts. And then if I head over here, we've got this one. As always, showing stuff is pretty important on screen, so we have this Show and Hide Source button. Pretty nice, I do say so myself. But let's take it a step further. This text source, it doesn't need to say hello, it needs to say world. Then we can flip back and forth between these two, easy stuff. Let me show you a quick demo and explain a little bit of how this all works. So let me grab myself a little command block here and a button. And we're going to do OBSCraft, and we're going to set the text to player 2. The name of player 2. So if we do set text, and then we put in our OBS ID, default in this case. And source is just indicating that we're about to define what source we're going to modify. Now you have two options here, literal and scoreboard. Literal just means you're going to type it in manually, which is what we're going to end up doing. But scoreboard's a fun one. I'll show you that in just a second. So if we do literal, then I am good at naming things, so we call this source text. And then we're going to define what text we want to set this text source to. Again, we have the choice of literal and scoreboard, and this time, since we want player number 2, we're going to do scoreboard. Now we need the objective, which in this case is player num. And we have two options here. We can go from the name to the score they have, or we can go from the score to the name of that player. In this case, we want player 2, so we're going to go by score. We'll say 2. Now, the one thing to note about scoreboard-based ones is the scoreboard doesn't need to be assigned to a display of any kind. It doesn't have to be a visible one. It can be the Aqua team that no one's on. It just has to be assigned to a display in order for the Minecraft client to see it. But we've got this big command down. Since it's on the side, we're good. We hit enter. You'll notice that it did, in fact, do the thing, which gives you a sense of manual control over it. And it gives you a button to copy the tell raw command, fully generated to have your player, and specifically your player, it includes your username here, do that thing. So for example, if I put a button on here and I set this back to hello, I press this button and it goes to happy. I say that makes me pretty happy. So this is all fun and stuff, but let me give you an example with actual context here. Say you're hosting a game show and you got points. And points are just on the side of the screen. No one likes points on the side of the screen. Everyone's done that. It's not that interesting to look at. You want a lower third. But I mean, right now it's not got anyone's name on it. So let's take that player number from before and let's do that thing again. Update the names right from that scoreboard. Makes it real easy. And we can have the scores as well. Isn't that neat? So since this is a repeating command block getting powered, even as I update the score and add more things, it adds more points. Isn't that pretty? This is all stuff from version 0.1. I want to show you the new thing. For that, we need to go deeper. If I head on down here, the new thing is action keys. there's actually two little systems here together. We have the ability to save an action and do it later, and we have the button to do it. So if I pull this up here, we've got a little example scene. We've got a jumps counter that counts every time I jump, and we've got this text source that says how many times I jumped. Just grabs from the scoreboard. But I don't want to like manually jump here and then press the button every time. You know, that's not entertaining. Or insert whatever complicated scenario you wish to have here. This is where action keys come in handy. Say, for instance, we want to have a saved action that updates that counter, which is basically the same thing that this command block is doing. So we do OBSCraft, save action, and we give it a 90. Let's call it jump. We can take any existing command block, and it says saving next action. So if we trigger that command block, it says saved. Isn't that neat? And now I can go to OBSCraft and I can list saved actions, and it's there. Starting and ending are just left over from testing. You can ignore those. Those won't be there. So the important part is we can now assign that action to a key. By default, no actions are assigned to any keys, but if you head to controls and under keybinds, you'll notice I've given you 9 buttons to work with. If you need more, let me know. They're not that hard to add. I just figured 9 was a good number. I've assigned a couple of them by default, and these aren't bound, but feel free to set them to whatever you want. But for now, we're going to assign action key 1 to that jump thing. So if I do OBSCraft, set action key, and I do key number 1, and I give it the ID of jump, it says set successfully. Perfect. And if I jump a little bit, you notice nothing happens. I'm going to press action key 1, and it updates. Nice and easy. Now, if you want a clear key of any saved actions, you can just set action key, and do the key number, and just leave off the ID, and it'll clear action key 1. Now, if I press the button again, nothing happens. Now, those saved actions are saved to your config file, so they are not tied to any particular world, unlike command blocks, which obviously are tied to the world they're in. You can also, of course, manage the saved actions with delete saved action. Just give it the ID that you need, and it will delete it for you. It'll also clear it off any keys if you happen to have forgotten to do that. But with that, that's the new feature of version 0.2. I'm definitely considering taking these action key IDs and putting them in some of my other mods, so keep an eye out for that. But that's all from me. So I will see you next time.